Hey guys, this is Clear and Present here coming to you with a number of updates. So on Saturday afternoon, the United States health authorities declared a public health emergency in response to the coronavirus. Now for those who want to know what this means, the Department of Health and Human Services has stated on their website that, and I quote, the emergency declaration gives state, tribal, and local health departments more flexibility to request that the HSS authorize them to temporarily reassign state, local, and tribal personnel to respond to the coronavirus if their salaries are normally funded in whole or in part by the Public Health Service Act programs. These personnel could assist with public health information campaigns and other response activities. So in short, this gives the federal government more flexibility to ensure that the virus doesn't spread and divert resources where they're needed to help combat this virus. This comes just a day or so after the World Health Organization did the same. Essentially, this is everyone agreeing that something needs to be done. It's a good thing, too, because at the time of this recording, New York is testing 3 more people for the coronavirus after all 3 felt ill with symptoms. Now, if this is confirmed, this will raise the confirmed cases in the United States from 11 to 14. Currently, as it stands, there are 6 cases in California, 1 in Arizona, 2 in Illinois, 1 in Massachusetts, and 1 in Washington State. During the press conference where the Secretary of Health and Human Services was delivering the declaration, it was established that they were expecting more cases to appear in the United States. So it's likely that we'll see more cases as time goes on. Now, across the ocean, 24 nations have confirmed cases of the coronavirus. Together, that brings the total of confirmed infections up to about 18,000 worldwide, with about 170 cases or so outside of China, with the death toll standing about 362, with 1 case being in the Philippines. However, considering the issues with the Chinese government and being accurate with numbers and trying to save face in spite of this outbreak, scientists now are beginning to estimate that the actual number of infected could be anywhere from 100,000 to 200,000, and the number of deaths unknown. As I said in my last video, airliners are beginning to restrict flights and travel to and from China. As of now, a United States travel ban of all foreign nationals who've been to China or aren't immediately related to an American citizen is currently in effect. Other nations are taking similar measures including border closures, particularly Vietnam, Russia, the city of Hong Kong, Australia, and Japan. In addition, we're seeing more airliners canceling, suspending flights to and from China per government order or recommendation. Even North Korea has closed off their border with China, and they remain as China's closest ally, and vice versa. Now, what does all this mean? In short, this situation is getting worse. I mean, it's only really bound to get worse before it can get better. The question still remains, how bad will it get? Will this become a pandemic? Will we start to see quarantines, in cities across the world? What about outright travel bans? It's really hard to say, honestly. So far, outside of China, there haven't really been any deaths, except the one in the Philippines, and a number of them are recovering. As it stands in the United States, the infection, those who are sick have been said that they're either severely sick or recovering. So hard to really say. As has been stated before, this virus isn't as deadly as viruses before, like SARS, definitely not Ebola, and so forth. So there are about 3 things that I find truly concerning at this point personally. The first being the fact that the test they've used to determine if a person is infected with corona is really still a kind of experimental at this point. There have been cases where people have tested negative to the corona and gotten sick later, or have completely gotten through the screening, either through deception or just not knowing themselves. The government even admitted that they're not sure the screening is surefire, and that and indeed people can get through without being detected. Second to that, I'm concerned about attempts by the Chinese government to save face and falsely report the number of cases and deaths they had. But I'm more concerned about not just the Chinese government, but even the governments around the world, should this get worse, attempting to downplay the severity of this outbreak. Already accusations are floating around the Chinese government is lying about the conditions in Wuhan and about the rest of the country. Unconfirmed videos are spreading allegedly from the regions affected that show people collapsing from the illness while they wait for treatment. Some are in hospitals while others are on the streets themselves. I'll include a link in the description below so you can see these videos for yourself. It's disturbing to think about it, honestly. Third to that is the fact that the incubation period for this virus is actually quite long and, quite contagious, making it spread really unpredictable. And ironically enough, the fact that it's not as deadly as SARS and Ebola means that it can spread to more people and spread further before people even begin to feel sick. And then finally, my last concern is the fact that we, at the time of this recording, have our first case of someone trying to escape quarantine. In California, a man who was evacuated from Wuhan tried to leave the base, but was stopped and put into quarantine. Now, this doesn't seem like a big deal, and it didn't seem like a big deal at the time. But this really astounds me. The fact that people have the audacity to attempt to leave quarantine before their ordered time is up or that they have been cleared really dumbfounds me. I mean, we've had a case in Europe where a woman managed to hide her illness from authorities. She was traveling from China and went to meet friends in France. She succeeded, and she then proceeded to brag about it on social media. And no doubt, authorities caught on and found her and dealt with her. But how dumb can you be, much less selfish, that you would potentially endanger millions of people with a deadly virus and violate the law, all for the sake of traveling to friends? Now, I'm not passing judgment down on people who, get desperate, or people who feel that they can't stay in a certain place, or, I'm not going to putting myself in their shoes, I can understand. But at the same time, this is a virus that could potentially threaten the world. And the fact that you're going to attempt to deceive the law into just so you can go somewhere doesn't seem, I don't know, it concerns me. I'll just put it that way. But it's these kinds of actions, again, that concern me. And if this outbreak spreads because of people doing something similar to that, then I really say that's really going to be a bad. I mean, I don't know how many ways I can put it. It's going to be really bad. But yeah, so these are the four concerns I have. And despite the actions that have been taken to stop the virus, I remain alert and watchful. Anyway, that's the news update for y'all and my own 2 cents regarding it. If you have any thoughts, opinions, or questions you want to ask, or if you disagree with anything I said, please feel free to comment down below. As always, stay alert, vigilant, and be prepared.